Okay, I was filming this video and I got distracted doing some math. And I let my little hot plate magnetic stir thing on, and the water is actually boiling, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, this video is going to be about um, dry fertilizers, making your own fertilizer, versus pre-made. Specifically, Easy Green in this case, because that's what I did the math on. But it's not going to be about which one's better or anything like that because dry fertilizers, I mean, it's obviously better for your plants. You know, you can dial in the fertilizers for your tank, for your water, for all that. So that's, yeah, I mean, dry fertilizers are better in that regard. But what the main thing we're going to be discussing is the price. Is it worth it for you to make your own fertilizers? Just from a price point standpoint, how much money you make versus how much you save from fertilizers. This is hot too. I should probably not have these so darn close together. That seems kind of like a bad idea, but I usually don't let it heat up for this long. I just got distracted doing some math for this video. I wasn't planning on doing this video, but then I was like, it'll be fun. I don't think anyone else has done it, so I'm looking for my scale balancer or machine right now. But and I know no one else has done it compared to making your own micros versus using a pre-made. I make my own because I think it's quite a bit cheaper, and mainly, I want to be able to dial it in. So, does it make sense for you to make fertilizer a part of your hobby? Find out in this video. So let's calculate our scale here. And this scale was like $100, $200, something like that. You don't really need a scale that good for what you're doing. I just have it for other things. And this really isn't even a good scale, to be honest. But, it's decent. It's like a mid-tier type of thing. You wouldn't see it in a lab, but you wouldn't see it for someone weighing food either. So it's a good middle ground. And that's just a real cheap magnetic stir. I think it was like $50 or something like that. Honestly, I wish I got a better one because with this one, the stirring's like either on or off. Like it has a knob to make you think you have control, but you don't. It's either on or off. Same thing with the temperature. So I wish I spent like $200 or something like that to get one that I have options with. It's not really that big of a deal, but sometimes it can be kind of annoying. And this, we're just using RODI water, distilled water, or whatever you want to use. It doesn't really make a difference. I'm not going over my mix just because for one, part of it, some of it's not my information to give away. I got it from someone else, and for two, I don't want people making it and then screwing it up and be like, it killed all my chickens or some shit like that. So we're not going over that. It's just really hot. I think I should let it cool down probably, but I don't really want to. Let's use this right. But anyway, me making this will be a time lapse. Just so y'all know, I'm not cheating or whatever. Why is this? What the? This. I just realized I did not print off my how much fertilizer I put in, and I don't know it by heart. So let me do that. I'll be back. Give me a second. Alrighty, let's get started. that so there's, for those of you that's interested, I know you can't see more, but I have 12 containers of stuff here. And I'm making 16 bottles worth, which is like, I think it's like 60 days or something like that per bottle. It's 197 days per pour. So, you can do the math. And that's on my high tech stuff. On my low tech stuff, I use like half the amount, so it'll be like double the amount of days. But for this video, I'm just doing my high tech CO2 tanks because it's just, that's what I do the math for. I'll have to do some more math at the end to calculate how long it takes me here and all that. But anyway, let's get started. Okay, I have to go buy some more Epsom salt, and that's MgSO4. And I'll come back. I'm gonna pause it for now, just to make the math a little bit easier. Gonna go ahead and turn off the heating too, but I'll be back and I'll stir it up once I get back. Just for reference, we're an hour and a half in, so it's about 30 minutes per, roughly, because this is the last thing. So it's about 30 minutes a piece, because we're on number 3. Got one more. All right, we're back. All right, so you've done the math. At first, I was just going to do this for one tank, one of my CO2 tanks, but I decided I might as well do it for all my tanks. It makes the numbers, well, more relevant to me for one, and also bigger, so it's easier to show the differences, I guess I could say. But even with just one tank, like you could, it was pretty substantial. All right, so the price per milliliter of my own mix is 0.00086 cents. For micros, for the premixed micros, it's 0.00208 cents. For easy green, it's 0.04798 cents. So basically like 5 cents for easy green if you want to round up. And less than well under a cent for all the others. And that's per milliliter, so that doesn't really matter. But how many milliliters per tanks per week for all my tanks I use is kind of important. For easy green, I use 168.2 milliliters. Like if I were to use easy green and have my nitrates basically the same, it would be 168.2 milliliters for all my tanks for a week. And for the pre-mixed in my own mix, it's 622.34 milliliters for all my tanks. So for a year, for my own mix, it'd be 32,472.81 milliliters for my own in the pre-mixed micro. And for easy green, it'd be 8,776.44 milliliters for a year. So, yeah. So the price to do my tanks for 1 week for my own mix, so I make my own micros, all that, is 54 cents. If I were to pre-make my micros, it'd be $1.29. And if I used Easy Green, it would be $8.07. So that's a pretty big difference there, at least for me. Um, so the price for the whole year for my own mix is $28.18. For the my own macros, but with the premixed micros, is $67.31. And I just price these premixed micros off of what Nylog G sold them for, the CSM plus B. And I think all of these were priced off of like 5 pounds, pretty much. I think the Epsom salt was like 8. Some of them were 1 pound, something like that. But, I used 12 things in my mix, so, whatever. So that was the price per week. So the price per year for all my tanks, I already did this. Whatever, I'm going to do it again. The price per year for all my tanks is using my own mix is $28.18. For the pre-mixed one, it's the pre-mixed micro is $67.31. And Easy Green would cost me $421.08 for a year for my tanks. Now I think I have like 15 plus 8, like 23, I guess, that I use fertilizers in for the most part. That I did the math with. I guess I have like a couple more tanks, but I was just doing the ones like in the fish room, I guess is how I did it. And this is how many milliliters I get per minute I worked, So for my own mix, I get 87.8 milliliters per minute. For the pre-mixed micros, I get 557.6 milliliters. And for Easy Green, it's infinity because I didn't work. So with the pre-mixed, all I did was it took me like 30 minutes. I did the math based off 30 minutes. Like it might have been like 31 or something. If you count me pouring it into the bottles. I think with me pouring into the bottles, it was like 34 or 35. But for the most part, for how much I was actually like dumping the things in, it was like 30 minutes. Plus that made the math easier on my brain. So how I came to that conclusion is I have 12 things, so I divided 30 by 12. And with the premix micros, I would have 6 things going in. So I would, I times, it was like 2.5 minutes per thing. So I times 2.5 by 6 and I got 15. So, yeah. And that makes sense, really. Like, for doing my micros, it probably takes me longer to do those than my bigger ones, just because you kind of need to be more exact. Because if you're a 1/10 of a gram off on your macros, it doesn't really matter at all. But if you're a 1/10 of a gram off on your micros, in which you're putting like 27 milligrams in for one of them, that's a big deal. So you need to be a little more precise when doing the micros. So you need maybe a little bit better scale and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, and that's how I did the math. It's not perfect, but that's what I did. And if I didn't say, like, for most of the price of the fertilizers, I didn't do it off of like 55 pounds or something like that. You could get at like a fertilizer store, which would bring it to like $1 a pound. I did it from like Nylog G Thrive stuff. So like 5 pounds, or like I went to Walmart for Epsom salt, and the rest was just kind of stuff off Amazon for the micros, because you can't really buy those at like Nylog G or anything. You have to get it from, other sources. But I didn't do like fertilizer stores. I just did it on Amazon, like no more than 5 pounds. For the micros, I kind of tried to get the smaller amounts, just because like I don't, I don't think anybody wants 5 pounds of this stuff they'll never use in their whole life because they only use like 27 milligrams at a time. I don't think we need to spend like, you know. So, and also with the micros, I just rounded up to a cent per. A lot of them were well under a cent, but I just rounded up to a cent. So that's not exactly the most perfect thing either. So my mix is, it's up a little higher than it should be, but it doesn't really matter. The point is it's a lot cheaper, right? Um, yeah. So where was I? Oh, time work per year for all tanks. So if you're creating my own mix, you would work 412 minutes, 0.09. And that equates to like basically like 7 hours. It's 6.87 hours. So call it like 7 hours a year. Okay, like calm down. It's over the course of a year. If you don't have 7 hours a year, you need to get some stuff in order. um, and for the premix, it took a lot less time to do the premix. It was 206 minutes, half if you can believe. It took half the time. It was 206 minutes, 0.05, which equates to like 3.5 hours, basically 3.43 hours. And easy green is 0 because you don't have to mix it up. I mean, you would have to pour it in, but whatever. So now this is the important stuff here. The dollar saved per year per time worked. So how much money do you save per minute hour, basically? So yeah. So doing my own mix compared to easy green, you save almost $1 a minute. It's 95 cents a minute, and that equates to like, it's right on $57 an hour. So if you're not making $57 an hour, maybe do your own fertilizer. Just saying. And the premix actually came out better. You make $1.72 per minute, which equates to $103.2 an hour. And easy green is, it's obviously 0 because you're not saving any money using easy green because that's what it's based off of. So just for approximate, right? All these are, just kind of close enough is good enough. How much you'll be saving. So for my own mix that I use compared to if I was to use premix micros, using my own mix cost me 2.4 times less money. So that's that's fairly significant for me. Especially because I only put into fish what I get out of it. So what was it here? The 67 versus 28. That's like $40 or whatever. I can go into buying fish or something or plants or whatever a year as opposed to just my fertilizers. And it doesn't really take that much longer, honestly. I mean, I guess it takes like double the time, but like 3 hours a year, I mean, that's really not that big of a deal, at least to me. Using my own mix compared to easy green is 15 times less. So if I was to use easy green, it would cost me 15 times the amount. And pre-mixed compared to easy green is the pre-mixed micro, but mixing your own macros is like 6.25 times less. So this isn't to pick on easy green. Like if you were to use Thrive, I think it'd be a little more actually. I have to look at the percentages, but I mean it's basically the same, And so I mean it's cheaper, and obviously the main thing is you have a lot more control of what goes in your tank. So like for instance, I put like 5 times the amount of phosphorus that Easy Green does. So, that's a thing. Maybe it would make a little more sense for me to, just clone Easy Green's recipe and see how long, and do the math on that. But I don't, I don't really want to do that, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, we could do that if you really want to know. No, actually, I don't want to put their mix out in a easy to understand way. You know what I mean? I just think that's kind of wrong. I shouldn't tell people how to clone stuff. Y'all can do your own math on that, but you can figure it out yourself. They give you all the information you need to know to be able to figure it out. Do some, maybe take a chemistry class or something, and you can figure it out. It's just math is all it is. But yeah. So does it make sense for you to make your own? Do you make $103 an hour or $57 an hour? Who knows? I don't know. I'd say it's probably safe to say most of you don't. So, I mean, give it some thought. It doesn't take that long. Like, it really does. I thought I had the time it takes me per week, but I guess I didn't put it on there. Um, Alexa, what's 7 hours divided by 52?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, what is 7 hours divided by 52?
7 hours divided by 52 is approximately 8 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay, 8 minutes a week. Y'all don't have 8 minutes a week? And that's if you're doing your own micros. Let's see if you're buying the pre-mixed ones. Let's see how much you save there. How long it takes there. Alexa, what's 3.5 hours divided by 52?
3.5 hours divided by 52 is approximately 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
4 minutes and 2 seconds a week. Y'all lazy bastards don't have 4 minutes and 2 seconds a week. Alexa, how many minutes are in a week?
1 week is 10,080 minutes.
You don't have, 2 minutes out of 10,000? Come on now. You don't need to do your own. I enjoy it personally, honestly. I like it. And you save quite a bit of money. I mean, what is that, like $400 a year? Close to $400 a year? I mean, that's not nothing, I mean, that's like a car payment or something, right? I mean, that's pretty good. Yeah, and there's a lot of information on your own fertilizer mixes. Like I said, I'm not going to give you mine just because part of it's not really mine to give away, and I also don't want people complaining at me whenever it doesn't work or whatever because they did it wrong, or they have their light on for like 29 hours a day and they're getting algae and they're blaming my stuff, and then I have to deal with it basically. Like, I just don't want to hear it. So I'm not going to give you mine, but you can go on like GLA's website, for example, Green Leaf Aquariums, and get the information for EI dosing or PPS Pro, whatever. Yeah, there. So yeah, and don't be afraid to, let's say you start with EI, but you have a lot left over at the end of the week, a lot of fertilizer left over. Cut it in half or something like that. Yeah, don't be afraid to mess with success for your tanks, as the only way I can think to say that. Yeah, don't it takes a lot to get your fertilizer so far off. It's actually going to be a problem. It's easier to do that with the micros, but it's still like it's not really that big of a deal. Honestly. But I mean, yeah, consider, I recommend doing your own fertilizer. I think it's interesting, and it doesn't really take that long. Like if you're just cloning the EI method or something, it takes, what was that, like 4 minutes a year plus like 30 to look up how to do it. So, you know, and you only got to look it up once. So it's, you know, what, like 5 minutes a week. Come on. Well, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.